Kahraman Haliscelik is here with me now. He's a New York and UN bureau chief for TRT World, Turkey's national public broadcaster. Kahraman, first I want to thank you. You were on the phone with us nonstop as this coup was taking place yesterday. I want to ask you, there was an incredible moment last night when the forces who were trying to launch this coup
Have a good day.
took over the entire newsroom and demanded that one of your colleagues read under duress a statement, and then people from all over Turkey stormed, what you said in your words, arrested the people who were trying to launch this coup and took over in support of the television station. What was that moment like?
I think it was very jubilant. I later on saw a lot of photos that were shared by my colleagues at TRT Newsroom in Ankara. My colleagues, the anchor colleague that I know well, she was forced to read that statement by the gang that tried to take over the country. And I think that the people did not want to lose their right to vote. They did not want to risk their political will. So they took to the streets and went and rescued TRT pretty much.
Tell me about this woman here. She was sort of the main anchor at the time. She was the woman who was forced to make a statement under duress, saying that they had a peace council had taken over. What's her name and who is she?
She's our, that's the anchor I'm talking about. She's at TRT, she's the main news anchor. We have many stations. We have a news station, TRT News. It's broadcast in Turkish. And she's one of the main anchors that goes on air throughout the day. Last night, though, she was there on a night shift. So they got her when she was on a night shift, and they forced her to read their statement.
Have you spoken to your colleagues in the newsroom? What are they saying?
I spoke with the editor that was directing her as well. We have been friends for many years with the editor, with other colleagues. There were about 30 colleagues in the newsroom at the time when they went there. They were told that there was an operation against ISIL. When they went into the newsroom, they did not say it was a coup. They said they were going to investigate a threat that was posed by ISIL. And then afterwards, after they went through security because of that, they went into the newsroom, and then when they were in the newsroom, they forced their statement to be read by her. Now, the TRT compound in Ankara is very secure. It is not easy to get into. So that's how they got into.
So they lied to them and said, and they believed that they were actually with Erdogan's government, the forces with the government, and allowed them in, and they told them the pretense that there's a situation with ISIS, and that's the reason why we need you to make this statement.
No, they got into the building.
That's how they got access.
Right. That was the way to get access inside. And then once they were inside, they forced the people to make the statement. But TRT compound, it's a public station, and people work for the people and not for the government. Turkey has a democracy, a big democracy. We have separation of powers. We have the president, the prime minister. We have the parliament. The judiciary is independent. So when you take all this together, you have a state, and TRT represents the people's voice, and we don't work for a particular person or organization, so we work for the people of Turkey. In order to get into the building, they lied to get into the building, and then once they were there in the studio, they forced my colleagues to read the statement on their behalf.
Did they use weapons when they came in to force her to make the statement?
Initially they arrested a couple of colleagues to kind of scare them away, to make them obey their orders, and that's how they actually had them read the statement.
Because they arrested them.
Right.
And did they threaten them with violence or anything?
They threatened my anchor colleague, yes.
What did they say?
And they had a weapon directed at her.
Wow.
And she had to read it.
So she had to read that message.
She had no other choice. And then, yes, absolutely. And then she came out after the people rescued TRT. She came out, made a statement, said it was one of the hardest nights in her life.
I can imagine.
She was pretty embarrassed in her own words, but we don't find any fault with her.
Absolutely not. It's hard when there's a gun pointed at you. That's what I'm assuming happened. There was a weapon pointed at her, forcing her to make that statement.
Yes.
How surprised are you that this unfolded this way in your newsroom? This coup took over the country, and there was violence inside your newsroom.
Well, each time a coup takes place in Turkey, there are few places that the coup committing officers go to. The first one is TRT.
Is that right?
The first one is TRT because it is the place where they can make a statement. It is the station that everybody watches, the statements that the news organization that is reliable, that when people watch, they know that news is credible, that there is no lie, there is no manipulation. So when in the 60s, in the 70s, and in 1980 coups, when the generals took over, they first went to TRT, they declared the martial law, and then they went to the parliament and they occupied the parliament. Mm-hmm. So first of all, whenever there is a coup attempt, that's where they come.
That's the first place.
That's the first place, yes.
Great. Kahraman Haliscelik, I want to thank you so much, you and your colleagues. What an incredible, impressive night it was. A difficult night for all of you. But
we're glad it's over.
Thank you for your support, for your help here tonight.